Empire Bite, this is Rampaned, and welcome to a new installation guide that I wanted to showcase today, with a new campaign on the horizon. As the Orsinium campaign in 4th Era, I wanted to do an updated installation guide. It's been a while since I did one for the unofficial patch of Elder Scrolls Total War, so we're going to get into this. So we're going to follow along with the installation guides that they have on ModDB, where the first initial thing is just following along, starting from here. I'm going to go with a fresh install, so we have to worry about trying to deal with a previous install. First, we want to start with installing the standalone version that is currently available for Elder Scrolls Total War, which is currently version 2.02, the King and the Crusader. I have already downloaded both of these files because we need first this file and the file over here for the 2.04 for the unofficial patch. First thing we're going to start off with, just to install the default original version. First, we're going to want to go to the RAR file. You can extract this with any sort of RAR extraction software that you are familiar with. WinRAR, I use free extract RAR. It's okay. It works. It does its thing. Okay, and now that we have extracted that, we're going to want to go in, take this, just make sure you have all this information first. We want to take this folder, and we want to move it into our Medieval 2 installation folder. I'm using Steam. If you go through with a disk install, it's going to be in the same location, just wherever you have it installed. The easiest way, if you do not know, to try and find your location of your installation files for Medieval 2 is to go to Properties, Local Files, and then Browse Local Files. This will bring you to the folder you have. I'm going to want to go into Mods here. I've already renamed my other installation to make sure I don't accidentally overwrite, because we don't want to for this fresh install. What we'll want to do is just click and drag, move this over to the mods. Shouldn't be anything overwritten here. There will be a later step where there will be. So once that is done, so now we have installed the standalone version. We will need to apply the 4GB patch if you have not already done so, to make sure that you can actually run the game. It will crash if you don't. It comes with the 4GB patch in here. You can just launch this. You'll want to apply it to... I have two versions of the Medieval 2 EXE. This is just the same thing, just renamed. If you want to, it just helps out with some of the newer mods. Basically, just apply it to Medieval 2 or Kingdoms, depends on how you're doing this. If you are having a disk installation, you'll have two separate proper EXEs. If you're using a Steam installation, you'll need to make a copy of it to run as Kingdoms. But just make sure you apply the 4GB patch to either or, just to make sure that it's running. With that, that is the first step. So now we have the standalone completed. We will need to now go and do the additional steps going for this. So right now we need to go to the Elder Scrolls, Total War, and Data, and then delete the world folder. That's the next step. So go boom, boom, Data, and then world. Delete this entire thing. Once that's deleted, that's that step done. Now what we're going to be doing is properly installing the unofficial patch. Now we need to use whatever extraction. I usually use 7-zip for this. It's really great for this, to extract the unofficial patch. So 7-zip, extract here. Wait for this. It's a pretty big file, and this is going to be then us taking all this information, putting it into the Elder Scrolls Total War, and trying to overwrite everything that we just made with the standalone version. Okay, and now that that has been extracted, what we want to do is take this file here. We're going to be moving into the Elder Scrolls. Okay, now that that has been extracted, we're going to want to go back over here. It's best to do it around in the mods folder again, just to make sure it lines up properly. So move it in here. We're now going to want to overwrite every file in here. It's going to take it a while to figure out what it wants to do, but eventually we want to say, yes, we want to overwrite that. Basically, we're now at this point. So we have downloaded it, we've extracted it to our mods folder. Now we're doing it right, and now we want to overwrite all the files. As soon as this is done, we'll be ready to play. I will kind of go over, if you guys want, some of the change logs that happen in this version as compared to the standalone. This one is going to be using the engine overhaul project by default, although at this point now there is a way to switch it over if you want. I believe, as I know 2.0.3 is doing that same thing. But this is the change log that we have for 2.0.4 for the various fixes that it has and changes, and the current bugs that we still know of. Hey, look, my other installation guide. If you guys are having trouble with crashes, I'll be going over this more specifically in a second once we've actually overwritten everything. Okay, and now that we have everything ready to overwrite, we're just going to have to let it go through. And after this point, we will be ready to run the game at this point. I will wait until this is done, and then we'll kind of properly go more specifically over the possible most common crashes that you might be having for running the game. I know in my previous installation guide, people kind of missed that bit, but the most common thing is most likely going to be answered right here if you're having some sort of issue. If not, that's kind of what this video is for, is we can kind of see any other unexpected ways that the game might crash, where we can kind of have everybody kind of talk through and work together to figure out like what's going on to be able to get the game to run. Okay, and at this point, the files have finished overwriting, and we are now ready to launch the game. At this point, all you need to do is be running the overhaul project exe here. This will allow us to run the mod. It seems like they have updated quite a bit, where you can kind of change different specific settings if you want. Kind of miss the old version. But this should work now. Let's see. If something goes wrong, try and run the program with administrator rights. That is actually one of the specific things right around here. I will have to update, I believe, to make sure that it's properly windowed full screen. That's one thing I'll have to double check and figure out how to do. That's usually configured in the configuration file, but the mod is now running. It is not doing it in full screen, which that's something I have to fix myself. But let's kind of go through some of the tips for crashing if you are having any issues. So, okay, if the game is crashing upon launch, this is maybe you just failed to miss one little detail in the installation guide. This is the thing I was talking about. If you do not have a Kingdoms exe, this is usually the case. If you have a Steam installation, you will just have a Medieval 2 exe. This is not the case if you have a disk installation, and so you just need to make a copy of it, as I was kind of talking, to be able to run it. You will need to apply the 4GB patch to both the Medieval 2 and the Kingdoms.exe, otherwise you'll not be able to launch the game. It will just crash. So if this fails to launch, make sure to try and run it as an administrator. That will be just going to here, right-clicking it, properties, running it as administrator under compatibility. You can try and, let's see, compatibility mode, and where's it? You can just right-click it normally, and if you run it at least once with administrator, usually it kind of saves that, I believe. I might be misremembering that. Let's see, if it still does not start, you'll have to try enabling compatibility settings. Yep, that's what I'm talking about, like right here. For Windows 7 is what they're currently suggesting. Seems to work for everybody. And then if you still can't launch the game at this point, and then you have to make sure they're the same size, because if they're not the same size, then something has gone wrong with the copying. Other than that, yeah, this is the tips during the running as administrator. There's a little bit more for the compatibility issues right here. Let's see, if you crash upon loading saves and starting campaigns, try running a quick custom battles first. This usually definitely does help as well. Let's see, if you're running into low frames per second, try turning off shadows. I think also turning down trees helps quite a bit. Decreased unit size. Let's see, if you have a Steam overlay enabled, it should help performance greatly if you disable it. And then the final little tidbit is the overall project is entirely safe. Your antivirus might flag it, and occasionally I know it will quarantine it, occasionally on my system, and it will just automatically delete it without you knowing. So if you have it so that the file disappears at some point, you might just have to reinstall it. Otherwise, just make sure your antivirus is aware of it. But at this point, this is basically all that is you need for this installation guide. I'm going to be just back in 1 second. I'm going to find the setting you need to specifically change to make it so it's full screen, and then I'll let you guys know about that little bit, and then this will be done for today. Okay, I found the setting. So the original... Okay, so I found the setting that you need to change. The old version of the engine overall project used to have it in the launcher itself. That would allow you to change the resolution and make it windowed. Basically what you need to do, oh, not that one. You need to go to the Elder Scrolls Total War, just the Elder Scrolls config file. It's the one it's referencing in here. You need to go right here, go down to the bottom, and it'll be under video. It originally had pound widescreen and so on and so forth. That's what it will originally have. I replaced it with a borderless window, windowed, anti-aliasing, and then the campaign and battle resolution is just set up to what my resolution is set up to. I don't know if you can go higher than 1080p, but that is what I have set to default for my system. Just go look up what your resolution ratio should be for your system, that whatever you want it to run at. But at this point, this installation guide is over and dealt with most of the most common issues that you guys might be having. So hopefully you guys found this installation guide helpful. If it wasn't, just comment down below whatever issues you're having. We'll try and work together in the comments to try and figure out what is going wrong so you guys can get this mod to run. So I'm gonna hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys did, let me know down in the comments down below, and hopefully it was helpful. But this is Rampaned, and I'll see you guys next time.